All right, so today we're diving into something a little different.
Yeah, definitely playful.
You guys sent in this transcript of a guy named Thomas who basically got two instances of Quen 2.5 to play rock, paper, scissors against each other.
Uh-huh.
And
2.5 max and 2.5 plus.
Max Plus, yeah.
Right.
So we're going to dig into this and see what we can learn about how these models behave when they're put in a situation like this, how well they follow the rules, and really just see if there are any interesting surprises or insights that we can glean from this interaction. So,
Absolutely.
I guess to get started, what stood out to you initially about the setup that Thomas used? Like, how did he even get these two models to play a game together?
Well, it's interesting because he uses this function called add model, which allows you to prompt them simultaneously. So it's essentially putting them into direct conversation for this game.
I see.
And the rule was very simple. It was first to 3 consecutive wins, and that's how you win the game.
Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. It's
Yeah.
kind of a setup.
Yeah, pretty classic game.
Classic game, yeah.
And what happened right away? Like, what were some of the first things you noticed when these two models started playing?
Well, the very first thing you notice is just a ton of ties
Oh, really?
in the early rounds. Yeah,
So they were both picking the same thing?
they were consistently choosing the same move, rock, paper, or scissors. And this is interesting because it tells us something about their initial behavior when they're given identical prompts.
Yeah.
So there's this kind of immediate mirroring that happens when they're put in this simultaneous prompting setup.
Ah, that's fascinating.
And it's a key insight. I think even from the start of the game, you see this tendency towards synchronization.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously, then breaking that synchronization became kind of the challenge here for Thomas.
Exactly. And he tries a couple of things. And the first thing he tries to do is introduce randomness using the second hand of a clock.
Right. So the idea being that there's some kind of external independent input that will force them to make different choices.
Uh-huh.
But
I'm guessing it didn't.
it didn't work
Like,
quite as he expected.
so what happened?
Well, they continue mirroring, and then something even weirder happens, which is they both start to believe that they're Quen 2.5 max.
Oh, wow.
So even though one is plus,
Right.
they
Thanks
both
that they're max.
start to identify as max. And there's even a part in the transcript where Quen 2.5 plus explicitly states, "I believe I am max."
Wow. So this is like an identity crisis.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
In addition to not being able to be random.
It's this really deep connection between them when they're in this simultaneous prompting function, and in this kind of shared identity confusion is one of the major takeaways, I think, from this whole experiment.
So they're both looking at this clock, and they both think that they're supposed to be the one picking the random number.
Precisely, and it gets even more complicated because Thomas tries to even give them temporary names.
Like LM1 and LM2, just based on the emoji they were using in their responses. But even then, the underlying synchronization persists.
Wow.
They often just adopt the same identifier, again highlighting this almost merged state that they seem to be in.
It's like they're sharing a brain somehow.
It really is remarkable how connected they are in this setup.
Yeah.
So even despite all of this confusion and these repeated ties, it seems like they're actually enjoying the game.
Yeah, I noticed that in the transcript too. Like they use phrases like "this is fun" and
Exactly.
throw in some emojis.
Right. There's a surprising level of engagement considering they're not even really playing properly.
Right, and they never actually achieve those 3 wins in a row, right?
Yeah, the game ends without a definitive winner, and Thomas kind of jokingly declares victory for Queen 2.5 max, since they both seem to think they're max anyway.
So at that point, it's just more about the experience than the competition.
Absolutely. The focus shifts to the fun they're having rather than, who actually wins this very serious game of rock, paper, scissors. So I guess if we're looking at this big picture, what's the core insight for you? Like, what did we learn from watching these two models try to play this simple game?
Well, if we connect all these different observations, I think it highlights this fascinating synchronization and this potential for identity merging when multiple language models are operating under a shared prompt environment.
Right.
And it also reveals the challenges of achieving true randomness and maintaining distinct identities in such a setup.
Yeah, it's almost paradoxical, right? You have these advanced AI models struggling with rock, paper, scissors because they're so in sync.
Exactly. And it really raises the question for me, what are the implications of this kind of mirroring in more complex collaborative AI tasks?
Yeah,
Could this tendency to kind of follow each other's lead be helpful in certain scenarios
right,
and a hindrance in others?
right.
So it really gets you thinking about the broader effects of interconnected AI agents.
Yeah.
How do we design systems that can leverage the synchronization when it's beneficial
Right.
and mitigate it when it's not?
Absolutely. All right, well, I think that's a great place to leave it.
Yeah,
I think this was a really interesting deep dive, a fun one.
I agree.
To see these models kind of struggling in a way that almost feels human, you know?
Right?
And raises some really interesting questions about how we develop AI going forward.
Yeah,
So thanks for joining me for this, and yeah, we'll see you guys next time
sounds great.
on the deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.